Okay, you feeling good?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. We're rolling. Sally, thank you for being here.
Hi, Tim.
Tell me what you do and tell everyone else what you do so I can know and they
Yeah,
can know and we'll go
yeah.
from there.
I'm a contracted miner. I work at a mine in Washington called Spruce Ridge, and when I'm not at the mine, I do lapidary art full time with a specialization in cutting caps for jewelers.
Okay, so what is that occupation entail or what's the description of
Of a
so
lapidary.
so us let's start with just minor in
Mhm.
general. I know that that's probably broad.
Yep,
So
yep.
what give a description of what that is and then your niche
Yeah.
we'll call it.
What I do is pretty unique in the sense where a lot of mining is, I guess technically we're commercial, but we're not industrial. We mine for mineral specimens, and then generally they get sold privately or at Tucson Gem Show. Uh, and so yeah, we get contracted in, we work specific weeks, and then we perform a job for the people who are there to actually collect. Spruce Ridge is really unique in the sense that it's split into shares. And so those shares are owned by members, and the members get so many days a year to come and collect. And so, what us miners do is we go up and we drill and blast for them. We do a safety check, and then we more or less step away and they come in and collect the pockets.
And so what are you after ultimately
It's
when
quartz and pyrite plates. We have accessory minerals as well as like amethyst, which is a variation of quartz. And then we have anchorite, barite, and calcite,
what is that stuff used for?
mineral specimens. So it's for a pretty rock in your home.
Okay.
People put them in like glass cases and
Is anyone indirectly looking for anything else when they're doing this? Are they secretly looking for gold or anything?
oh, no, not, there's no gold up at this mine in the same valley we're in. I think historically there were some copper mines, but those were all, if I'm remembering right, were really hard to get to, so it never really panned out for, like, industrial use, but it's just yeah, quartz and pyrite. We are still considered a metal mine, and to have a, like, commercially productive metal mine for over 40 years is, like, an incredible, um, thing to have, like, accomplished. I can't even name another one in the country that has been in production as long as us.
So walk me through what your day looks like.
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule Media is to build real connections between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. If you don't know what Mountain Mule is, we provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, or passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, or consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help these businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this show keep going. It also helps our business keep running as well. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show.
Every year it shifts a little bit. The members vote on a schedule every year. And just in case, like if one year the schedule sucked for you, it'll be better the next year, hopefully. So it does shift a little bit. But I drive from Montana. It's a 13-hour drive up to the site. I park and then I put everything on a frame pack and I hike it a half mile up the mountain. It's about 600 feet elevation gain. So it's really steep. We use rope assist to get up there. Usually I do it in like 2 to 3 loads because I like to have a lot of stuff, but some of the guys will go up in 1 load. And then we wake up every morning, we have a company breakfast where we talk about safety things, whether it's from the day before or like what we're going to make sure we're focusing on that day. And then we hike up to the mining bench and we put on all our safety gear. We get all like the compressor running, we drag the drill out. It's a 70-pound just like drill, so air compressed drill. So we carry that out to the bench. It's a really steep slope. So we're When I say like our safety gear, we have harnesses on and we're roped in. So we drag that out to the bench and we start drilling for the day. We drill about 25 to 40 holes. It takes about 3 hours. Then we fill the holes with a blasting agent and connect them all and then do our blasts. Just like the movies, we scream fire in the hole and then we make a big boom.
That sounds so cool.
It's really fun. Um, it's there is something to say where, like, the more you do it, you get desensitized, so, like, at this point, we're like, "Do you wanna press the button?" But it's still incredibly, like, fun every single time to see, like, the variations of how the rock moves. As we're drilling, we read the rock, and that's how we figure out if we're near a pocket or drilled into a pocket. You read the rock by looking at the dust color, how fast you're drilling, you listen to the sounds that like, sometimes if it's hitting really hard granite, it'll make, like, this ting, 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 ting sound. Um, if you drill through pyrite, it just, like, is black smoke coming up, and, if you have a big drop, that means you dropped into a pocket and you need to stop immediately because you might ruin something. In those cases, we'll usually, like, stop, pull the drill out, and then move forward with the intention of trying to, blast the top of that pocket off and, like, leave the remainder of it. And yeah, then we do the blast, we do our safety check, and then we allow the members to come out as long as there's like we'll bar any huge rock that could be at risk of like rolling over someone's toe or something. And then they come out and collect. If there's a really good pocket, we'll usually hang around and watch. Otherwise, we go down because we're starving. So we have lunch and we have about a 4 hour break before we come up and prep the bench for the next day.
This is so interesting.
It's really unique.
What did you say the stuff is called that smokes when you hit it?
Pyrite.
What is that?
It's fool's gold.
Okay.
So it looks like gold. It's really heavy and dense, and it's, like, just as shiny as gold. A lot of times, it's called fool's gold because people mistaked it historically for gold so much. It has a very it has a lot less of a value than gold right
Mm.
now specifically.
So the pocket is essentially a hollow space in the
Yep,
rock.
a vug, yep, yep, and, sometimes they're, like, the size of a fist and there's just a few crystals in there. And sometimes, you can lay your whole body in it.
Mhm.
We're kind of dreaming of like hopefully finding a room where you like multiple people can go and walk in and collect, but who
Like a
knows?
pocket that big?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that would be the dream.
What's the biggest one you guys have found?
I've only been there 2 years. This will be my third summer, and I've only seen ones where you can lay in. But there's still a lot of times they'll be kinda narrow, and so you kinda, like, do these weird contortions to kinda wiggle in.
And so this material that you're finding or mining for, what does it look like after you blow these pockets open? Are you breaking it off in pieces? Is it pieces that are broken from the blast?
Both, it really varies, it also depends, like, if you're reading the rock perfectly, sometimes you can't always tell, and it's just, like, the way it is, but ideally, um, you'd walk out and, um, the idea is we're only drilling so much back so that we can hopefully just kinda, like, break that rock off enough so that it's just laying there, and you never wanna put so much blasting agent where it's, like, flying off the mountain, that's not the goal. Because if you just have enough where it just, like, kinda cracks off of the ledge that you're currently working on, then you can really, like, read the geology better anyway, and then, if there was a pocket, then hopefully the other side will be just laying there for you. Some of the pockets are really clean and pristine, and you're like, "Whoa, that's shiny," and some we call them Halloween, and they just have, like, a complete black covering coating to them, and they require a lot of cleaning.
And what is the rock that tell me what this stuff that you're mining for is called because you've thrown so many terms at me.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's
So
okay.
we're looking for quartz and pyrite specimens mainly, that's, like, our bread and butter, but those are found in a breccia, and a breccia is just, like it's a rock consisting of angular fragments that were cemented together. So at one time, they broke apart and then, like, re-healed, kind of, in layman's terms, and there's lots of breccias in that area. Ours is one of or my mine owners is one of, like, the most, significantly producing and for quality.
Can you guys determine, when these rocks were molded or welded together or when any of this happened?
Oh gosh. I do have that information, but just not on the top of my head a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just don't know that on the top of my head right now.
I was pulling up the pictures. If as long as I have time, I've just been
Yep.
very busy, but I will edit some of these pictures in because the drill actually, like when I first see it, it looks like a jackhammer, like
So
what you would
yes,
think.
that's what I should have
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
It's like a jackhammer drill.
So but it's like a hammer drill
Mhm.
essentially. Yeah.
Yep, it's all ran by air, by a diesel compressor, and uh, because it's such a remote area, every other year we fly all the diesel we'll need in for with a helicopter for the next 2 years. So that's pretty unique, and it's always fun to be there on, like, a helicopter drop and kinda hectic, but
Yeah, this is so cool. The rock, because I was just looking at some of the pictures. The rock kind of, when you drive, say, through the canyon and go into Big Sky and you look at that rock, does
yes.
it look similar to that rock?
So that's a lot of that is like a limestone and granite, and this is it's a granite also, so like same but different. Specifically, spruce is I might pronounce this wrong, a grandiorite. I might say that a little wrong. If you're a geologist out there, you might know that, but that's what spruce is in, and in the canyon, I don't know what type of granites, but it does change from granite and limestone.
Not to get way off topic, but
Mhm.
because I think of that rock, do you know where the Yellowstone name originates from? You're a Montanan too, so you
I should. I don't
well,
though.
I've heard
Okay.
different things of some of people have said that, that a lot of that rock looks yellow when you drive through,
Yeah,
say, the
yeah.
canyon to Big Sky, but then I heard from another person or read somewhere that there's a lot of Yellowstone that would lay along the Yellowstone River, and that's what the Native Americans would
Okay.
call it. I don't know if either of those are true.
Yeah, I have no idea actually. I've never even thought of, like, looking into that.
Yeah. It almost looks, and maybe that's where it's blasted. It kind of looks like like shale, but not really. But it's kind of like a clayish looking stone, or no?
Yeah, yeah, and inside the pockets, you'll just get this really thick, clay too. Mud clay, kinda peanut butter looking stuff.
And there's a market for these. People just buy them for the decoration or the
Yeah,
uniqueness of
yep,
them.
yep.
What's the what's the highest price you've ever seen one go for?
Oh gosh. So a lot of our really good specimens don't even make it to public sale. One of the members buys them, but I think there's definitely been some rocks in the 20K range for
Interesting.
like one plate. They do have a rule, and I believe it's 5,000. If you find a specimen that's worth more than that, it goes to the company, and the member doesn't get to keep it unless they get first dibs to buy it.
The company meaning you guys who.
The guy who owns the mine.
Oh,
So,
okay.
what's really unique about spruce is a lot of mining claims are not privately owned land, but in 2001, the original owner, his name was Bob Jackson, he applied for a patented mining claim. At that time, they were already, like, not allowing those to exist anymore, or not they exist, but there weren't any new ones getting passed through. And somehow the willpower of the administration then passed his. And so it's actually private land that is owned as well as like all the mining rights. And oh, I lost my train of thought. Um, but so everyone, like, we can kick people off. No one can just walk on the mine, where like any mine in Montana is not like that unless it's industrial.
So this gentleman owns the land, but then other folks will buy mining rights.
So there's 25 shares, and Bob Jackson is actually the one who set it up that way, and that was his mining mentor or blasting mentor. But he sells the shares. Some people own more than one share, and that share allows you so many days of digging or collecting that year.
Just for that 1 year or annually?
Annually, yep.
Okay.
And they have fees. They can also sell their share. But it's all pretty much kept in house in that regard.
Do you know how they regulate that? When did they say, "Okay, we no more mining"? Is there a
Well, it's private land, so we got really lucky.
okay, so really it's up to the landowner essentially?
Or when the deposit is depleted. I think we've got about estimated like 40, 50 years left.
That's a good deal that he worked in, so if it's worth that much money, I get to keep it.
Yeah, yeah.
What a savvy businessman.
Yeah, he's very smart.
So, and how often through the year is there certain times of year you guys aren't doing this at all?
Yep, yeah, we only operate July through September. Washington's really rainy and wet, so we kinda skip that early
Mhm.
June period.
So people might have, say, a week that they're able to.
Yeah, that's one of the things they vote on every year. But this year, I think they got 5 collecting days, and then they limit it to 3 people collecting per day. Otherwise, there's just not always a lot of pockets to share, and so they can sign up. I think the happy medium is you like to have 2 people on the bench collecting.
This is so interesting. And then they hire you guys in as a subcontractor, you
Mhm.
guys come in and blast.
Yep, yep.
Do you
You're
guys
paid by the day.
will your company go anywhere else in the US? Or are you only going in this area?
He does get contracted to work at other mines. They have to get, like, a lot of permissions, obviously, to do the blasting. But he does work at a couple places, at Little Gem in Montana. I got to blast with them there, specifically because I was a Montana person. He does a little work. He's done work in Maine and Arizona, and
So would you go if essentially if the opportunity is there, would you go all over the country to do this?
yes, I don't have my blasting license yet. I get that this year, so we kinda work in a mentorship, and as we, like, move up, we get paid a little more every year, and you can generally get it at like your second or third year. It kind of depends, like whenever the ATF wants to come out and interview you.
So it's kind of a it starts as a apprenticeship to an extent and
Mhm.
you're
Yep.
training. And so the gentleman that owns the blasting company is not the gentleman that owns this land in Washington.
Yes. Yeah.
Or it is the
Yep.
same? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. So
So
he
he's my blasting mentor.
okay.
Yep.
And he owns this. Tell me how many acres it is?
Oh gosh, I don't think more than one or two. It's not incredibly big.
Oh, wow. That's yeah, what an
I don't know if
interesting
I've ever asked that question though.
yeah, that
But
this is such an is there a lot of other people that do this in that area?
yes and no. There's a lot of hobby diggers that will come out, but the Forest Service is actually starting to like crack down, and so they're closing a lot of the mining operations out there.
Is there environmental things that you guys have or you guys are taking into consideration when you're doing all this? How is that approached?
Well, we pick up all our trash.
Mhm.
We have to make sure like we where we blast the rock, it's a confined area. Also because we're when we first started, the cliff face was about like 30 to 50 feet in front of where we are at now. So we're kind of just filling in the space that is no longer there.
This
Most of it's, we make a lot of like big booms. So if you're like a CDT hiker hiking around, you're like, oh, what was that? Like a lot of times they'll think it's thunder on a bluebird day, which is kind of funny.
yeah. Yeah, I guess it throw you off if you just
Yeah, because you have no
hear
idea.
dynamite exploding in the woods.
Hmm.
So how did you get into this?
So my dad,
Okay.
I'm a lifelong rock hound. He got lucky and was fishing along this one creek outside of Helena constantly, and he would see these old timers come down every day, and they started stopping and talking, and he'd show them the fish he caught, and they would show him the rocks they dug, and finally they invited him to dig one day, and the rest was history. One of those guys who invited him out was Leland Stanford, and that became his like rock hounding mentor.
Is that a rock hounding as a that's a term for
Yeah, that's like a hobby term.
okay, cool. So you've just been doing it your whole life?
Yeah.
Do you have aspirations for where this ventures will take you?
Yeah, my goal would be to have my own mine here in Montana where I could blast that would be the goal.
So how does that process look? You essentially need to find land, buy the land, get the mining rights.
Not necessarily buy, but it would be a lot easier if it were private land
Yeah.
for sure. But just have to jump through all the hoops with ATF and make sure I'm like there's a lot of paperwork, and it's getting increasingly harder, to do this work just with, like, good reason to an extent, um, but it'd be cool if I could find a breccia in Montana, although we have, like, far less than over in Washington.
So how are you guys accessing this land? Is there road access to it? Do you have to go through?
So I drive, up a dirt road for a bunch of miles, it's blocked by a gate that we have a key to.
And that's is that just a public road that you to get to it?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yep,
didn't know
yep.
if you had to go
You
through.
can't like, the public can hike past the gate, but they can't drive past the gate. We have a key with Forest Service.
And then do they have this whole thing fenced off or
There's
no?
signs all the way up.
Yeah.
That's once you hit the private land.
Yeah.
Where we park is public land.
Yeah. And is there, signs that you might hear or warnings that you
Yeah,
might hear
yeah, it's
blasting
yeah,
going off?
there's a lot of, like, danger signs, and we also, before we blast, we have safety protocols where we, like, toot a horn, and we have, like, if 1 toot means this, and it goes up to 4. And they all have like a different meaning. And we also use a lot of radios. So if you're like down in camp, we always communicate with them and make sure they're in a safe spot. And the likelihood of a rock heading that way is very low. Otherwise, we wouldn't be camping there.
Yeah.
But just for safety protocol, we make sure we know where everyone on site is.
And are you guys doing some kind of roll call or something like make sure you know where everyone is before you?
Yeah, and there's just a handful of people on site at a time.
What's the craziest thing that's happened in one of these endeavors
Oh
that you're
gosh.
allowed to share?
Yes, yes. I mean, one of the most dangerous things we come across on that cliff face is falling rock. You know, there's critters that are up above us and they kick down rocks on us all the time. So I have been hit in the shoulder with like a pretty good sized
Yeah.
rock. And like with the momentum it brings coming down, it's not a fun feeling. We also have like this safety protocol where if someone yells a direction, you don't look around. You just move where they're telling you to go.
Oh, interesting. Because the instinct isn't to like, lift your face up to
Yep.
whatever's flying through the air at you.
So if my mining partner says, "Sally, move left," I'm not gonna look around for what's coming. I'm just gonna like move left
Yeah.
really quick.
I guess that takes time and then it's probably an instinct at some point.
Mhm.
So is this all what you've been doing most of your adult life?
Yeah, I definitely worked like jobs for a while, but I've been doing lapidary. I've been doing mining for 2.5, 3 years, and then lapidary work for about 4 years.
And I know I've had people on that are native Montanans, but you grew up in Helena.
Yep.
So what was that like and and you're local in Bozeman now?
Yeah, I've been in
Okay.
Bozeman for 10 years. I loved growing up in Helena. I wouldn't want to live there again, but I think that's just like I like Bozeman enough. Uh, I I definitely didn't appreciate rockhounding as a kid. I was like, why aren't we going on like Disneyland
Mhm.
at like
Yeah.
vacations? Why are we going into the woods camping? I know you said you were raised by hippies a little bit too, to an
Shout out to my mom.
yeah, I was also raised by hippies, maybe a different flavor of
Yeah, sure,
hippie,
yeah.
but, I grew up going to reggae festivals and, like, they were a little bit in the hippie scene, the
Mhm.
rainbow, kind of vibe, so I was like, "Why aren't we doing what all I see my friends doing?" Uh, but now as an adult, I'm like, "Oh, that was really cool that I got to do all that," and
I can relate completely because growing up on a farm, I would think as a kid, why can't we just have a normal house like my friends? Why do we have to work 7 days a week
yeah,
for
yeah.
the end of existence? But then in hindsight, you realize how lucky you were. But
Mhm.
I think that's how it is being a kid. It's just easy to
Definitely.
see what everything else is. What's the population in Helena?
Oh gosh. I wanna s oh, it's smaller than Bozeman still. It really depends if you're doing the Helena proper or all the valley
Mhm.
outside, but I could be so wrong, but I wanna say it's like 30 and then 50 when you do all the surrounding
I had the number 40
50,000.
in my head, so
Okay,
I
okay.
think it's
I think
somewhere in
yeah,
that
and
ballpark.
with the
Makes sense.
capital too.
Did you go to school in Bozeman?
No, I actually went to college in Butte,
Okay,
School of Mines.
nice. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. There's someone in teaching some type of like, alien program in Butte right now.
At the college?
Yeah, I heard
To
about it recently.
study
Yeah, like study UFOs and alien life and stuff. It actually sounds kind of interesting.
that is
Yeah,
interesting.
that's a college
Well, I
course.
believe in aliens,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, so
I was like, universe is too big for there not to be something.
it sounds very interesting. How was let's stick on Helena. What was it like growing up in Helena other than going on
Yeah, it
rock
was like
journeys
an
all the time?
idyllic childhood, I think. I had lots of neighborhood kids that we would run around and, it was like the rule once the streetlights came on, you had to come home. I think we caused a little more mischief than I like to remember with neighbors and playing pranks, but it was really idyllic.
Yeah. My experience in Helena is started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu when I moved to
Yep.
Montana, and we've gone to a handful of competitions in Helena. Why they're in Helena and not in Bozeman, I don't know,
That
but
is
I mean, it's a
Are they at a hotel or
no, they're at like I don't think it's like the town hall, but maybe it is. It's some city center place or something.
civic center? Is it the
That sounds right.
They do have
I
a
think there's a
decent
church there or something too, though. Like
hmm,
it might be
yeah,
the civic center.
civic center kinda looks like a
I
church.
swear there's a tower with a bell,
It
but
could Yep,
I
that's the
could be
civic
wrong.
center.
Yep. Anyway, that's where they are.
Yeah. Helena, like, they have a good fairgrounds and, like, they have poured money into those things.
Mhm.
But it is funny that it wouldn't be in Bozeman.
Yeah. And then how was Butte? I was going to school
I
there.
loved Butte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the old school field and kinda like the good old boys part of Butte. They do have, like, problems with,
Mhm.
drugs and that kind of thing, and then, of course, like, the Berkeley pit is very toxic, but I love it there.
Yeah, it's such a interesting town or city, whatever you call it, but the history of everything. Did
Mhm.
you dive deep into the history when they were
A
doing all the
little bit.
mining and
I
everything?
It wasn't in so from late middle school through high school, I was like, "I don't wanna do rocks anymore. I've done it my whole life. I'm over it. This is all my dad makes me do." And it wasn't until I got into college and I had a couple friends who were, like, asking me about the rocks I had in my room, and I was like, "Oh, this is kinda cool and unique." So I actually didn't dig a lot in Butte when I lived there, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Someone told me that they were filming parts of a TV show in Butte. I think it was one of the Taylor Sheridan shows.
Okay.
And I just thought they should really do it. Why don't they do a show about Butte? Could you imagine? I don't know how much you followed or know much about, like the Yellowstone show or any of
I
those
don't
shows.
watch it.
So I like, and they're doing these spin-offs of these different eras in time. And
Okay.
I thought that'd be so cool if there was like the copper mining in Butte as a TV. It'd
It's really cool,
probably
yeah.
make a great drama. And
Well, and just, like, the history of the unions in the area, and
yeah,
I think it was, like, Tom Little or something. He was, like, a famous old union guy trying to, like, make working rights better for the miners.
yeah. And I mean, the way that city got as big as it was, and then the way
Yeah,
like that's
they had 1,000,000 people in, like, the late 1800s, early 1900s, which is wild to think about now.
have you done that underground tour or anything
I
there?
haven't actually, but I have been in some of those underground,
Yeah.
like, tunnels and stuff.
I know my mother's done it. I've heard it's cool.
Okay.
Someday.
I've heard good things about it too.
Yeah. Okay, and then last 10 years in Bozeman, and you primarily been doing this. I'm just gonna call it rock blasting because
Yep, yep.
there's too many terms in my head. And what's it? You like being in Bozeman, being here?
Yeah, for the most part, it's definitely grown, and those have, like, little pains, of course, but there's a lot of opportunity that's also opened up.
If anyone wanted to get into this career, what would you tell them?
Don't email my boss, he'll ignore it. Um, so it's to become a miner there, it's, like, invite only. There's a lot of things that could go wrong when you're so far back in the backcountry without cell service, and we're, like, really dependent on each other. Like, if I were to get hurt, I'm completely, like, at the will of the people I'm with. But I got invited out, I guess they'd been vetting me quietly for, like, a year before they're like, "Oh, she might be a good person for the team." We're always looking for new miners and new people to, introduce blasting to because it is a dying, knowledge. There was a time where, like, every farm had, blasting in their, like, barn,
Mhm.
blasting materials for, like, ditches or outhouses or whatever, and they just, like, changed all the regulations, and so and especially for blasting for minerals, it's just even lesser known because even quarries and industrial, mining, they are blasting to, like, blow the rock into little bits. They're not trying to, like, locate something specific, and so the blasting that we do is really unique in that way.
Because they're blasting it to essentially move the if they're building a road or
Yep.
something, so they just want to obliterate it to.
Yep. So a lot of times we'll blast in a line and we're trying to just like knock that rock off where they blast in a grid in a for lack of better terms, like a 10 by 10 area. And so they'll drill a hole every like foot or 2 feet apart. And that just like, so they're trying to make a big rock into little rocks where we're trying to make a big rock into just a few little rocks.
So you're gonna drill a line, and then that might like break off a big slab of
Mhm.
rock, essentially.
Yep. And we never want to break off something bigger than we can't move on our own.
That makes sense.
Otherwise, we have to drill that and then blast that off, which is just more work and money.
Do you need to carry certifications, first aid or anything like that to keep
We
team safe?
don't like first aid is obviously really nice to have, but
Mhm.
that's not something like is a requirement for working up there. But we do all have like blasting certifications.
And then are you guys camping there when you
Yeah,
when you go in?
yeah, it's bougie camping.
Mhm.
We have like a kitchen area. We get our water from a spring up there, which is dependent on if it's a wet year or a dry year. We hike everything in, so like all of our cooking fuel and all that gets carried up. Depending on the planning, they'll fly some of it in too, but we don't fly every year. And we have a cabin that we sleep in. The two miners sleep in one, and then the members have one too.
Nice.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like
mean, we they're getting better, but there has been a mouse issue, which changes a lot of things. Or just like the quality of sleep.
so I mean, does blasting all these rocks and doing this like teach you, like, does it give you any type of unique perspective on the world or life, or just seeing the way that like all this
Um,
comes together?
Maybe a little bit. It's really empowering to like, especially as a woman. My boss sees a lot of value in having a split team of men and women. There's still more men that work there than women, but there's four of us women who work there, and it's incredibly empowering to like be able to carry this 70-pound drill that weighs like at least half of what I do. When you got a guy who's 200 pounds, he's not going to fall over as easily if he like gets off balance. Where like if I go too far this way, that drill's gonna pull me over. And that's how you get injuries and stuff. So it's really empowering, and you get really buff after hiking up
Yeah.
there and so much. But as far as like grand ideas, nothing more than, and you see this in all, like every rock hound would say this, but when you open a pocket, that pocket has never seen the light of day. So that's a really kind of special feeling. I'm not into the energy healing side of crystals of rocks. For me, the power is like finding them and like uplifting myself and
Yeah.
that.
I don't know much about that either. I was thinking,
To
you
each
know,
their
yeah,
own.
no judgment. God knows what I do and say, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I have other boo boos,
yeah.
so like,
I just wondered,
mhm.
you blow this, you open up this cavity and think, you know, because you would say never seen the light of day, but what if it did, 100,000 years ago? Who the hell knows? Like
Yeah, it was
that's why,
probably forming then,
yeah,
or like growing still,
yeah. That's why I was
but
curious if you could if you guys could put any kind of timeline on when that stuff.
I could email you about
Yeah,
it.
I was just
I just
generally curious.
Yeah, I have a hard time with, like, timelines that, like, I wasn't alive for, and when they go back so far, I'm like, "Oh, like, was that before or after the dinosaurs?"
Well, because you said you believe in aliens, because I think of the pyramids so much
Okay, okay.
because it boggles my mind,
Mhm.
that we don't have a way to conceptualize how that happened. So I just wonder, like with all this kind of stuff, how the hell did all this stuff happen? How
Yeah.
do we, you know what I mean?
Well, and then, I don't know, have you heard of the monoliths in the Boulder or, like, Butte area? There's a company that does tours, and they say the giants built a wall out there. It's all bogus.
But oh, it's
Oh, it's a lie. It's a way for them to make money. But, they're just it's like $99 for the tour, and they're just taking people's money to,
was this
like
more recently that this because I thought I'd heard about this quote unquote discovery more recently or some sort of. I mean, I wonder if this is what you're talking about.
yeah, I think they own private land, and it's just so, like any geologist would say could tell you how these formed in a stack. Like at one point in time, there was like dirt and other rocks around them that just eroded away. And for some reason, those got left the way they did. It's not because a giant came along and stacked them into a wall.
Are you sure?
Yes.
But there's
Unless
no
it was a dinosaur.
but there's no law against that, right? If you could,
Oh,
even if
totally.
you built the structure with some, who the hell knows how you did it, and then you're like, yeah, we don't know where this thing came from, but you want to come tour it for $100?
Wasn't that America capitalism at its finest?
Prob
Yeah, like
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the circus, like all the different circus attractions,
Yes,
see the world's biggest horse and all the other
totally.
things, and see the man-made tomb in Montana that we don't know where it came from. But I don't know, if you just use creative language and you don't know where it came from,
Mhm,
you might have built it. Like, I don't know. Things are pretty savvy these days. You can build some things that look like they weren't man-made.
definitely, and these are definitely, they weren't, like they've been there a long time the way they are.
I'm interested. It sounds like a good investment for $100 to go to do some detective work and find out.
Oh, you're on your
Hmm?
own. The thing is, like, there's plenty of these that aren't on private land, and you can just walk and see them for free too if you spend the time around Butte, Homestake area.
Have you been to the pyramids before?
No.
Huh.
I My boyfriend recently told me a fact that, my understanding was that they were tombs for their dead, and they actually haven't really found a lot of, like, mummies in there or anything. Also, the Europeans used to have this crazy thing where they would, like I forget if they would, like, eat the mummies and it would make them. I just listened to a podcast on it. It was wild though, and I was like, "Is that why they didn't find any mummies in there? Because other people were, like, taking them." It was, like, weird old medicine. Um,
Yeah, that it boggles my mind. Who the hell knows what went on
mhm,
in past generations?
it's wild.
Yeah. Okay, so you're hoping someday you'll have your own place to
Mhm.
mine. Do I see the way your boss makes a business out of it. Is there a way for someone like yourself to make a business out of it? If would that be the route, is to get a mine, and then would you essentially either sell rights or sell your blasting business?
Ideally, I wouldn't wanna deal with that many people.
Uh-huh.
There's just so much, like, organizing that he does, but he's really supportive in all of us, um, like, finding our own things, or he's a really good mentor in that sense, and that's also how he got what he has by, like, a um, mentorship, and, um, he's over in Oregon, so he likes kinda that PNW area, where I'm just like I'm a hardcore Montanan. I love Montana. I love what we have here, and I value it so much. Uh, right now, it's just like really getting feet on the ground and like understanding how to read maps and like just all the terminology they use that sometimes goes over my head.
And maps, meaning like the maps of the rock, or maps of,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
geologic.
Okay. So you said Pacific Northwest. Have you had any Bigfoot encounters out in
No,
the woods?
but
Do you believe?
yeah, I think so, but they don't carry bear spray out there,
Or
so when I was hiking up and down from the mine for the first few times, I was like, "I feel naked," and, like, they don't have like, they have a few black bears, but the sightings of them are pretty low, but I was like, "There's cats out here,"
yeah.
and it's so thick in foliage that I was like, "There's probably a cat behind that bush," and I used to, like, get a little creeped out by that, but it's gotten better.
Yeah, I grew up in the Northeast, and I would always think that too, because it pretty rare, but there are
Yeah.
lions, and it's similar to that. It's very thick. Out here,
Yes.
you get used to it, but it seems so wide open. You can see so far.
Comparably, yeah.
Yeah, the when it's dense, and it's like, depending if it's spring or summer, it's like you can't see far, and there's cover everywhere, and there's, yeah, it can be a little sketchy. Like, you
Mhm.
never know where something's sitting.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't had any major encounters like that out there with.
No, we've had sightings of cats, not in my time there, but on site. There was a story of in the winter, depending on the snow year, we'll get mountain goats that come down from way up higher. And there was definitely a dead mountain goat on our trail one year up above the bench where we mine.
Mhm.
And that definitely scared the miner
Yeah,
who
yeah,
was up
yeah.
there. And
Okay, so if anyone wants to find out more about this, you have like, do you have a bunch of stuff on your Instagram, don't you?
Yeah, a little. We're kind of limited what we can share at Spruce. We limit what we share just to uphold like the what we're doing. It's so easy for people to post something and it get misconstrued. So we are pretty careful about what we post, but I can definitely put you in contact with anyone who could if you want to buy rocks.
Okay, yeah. If you give me some like links, if anyone's like where
Yeah.
they can go,
Yep.
and you said tell them to never email your boss though.
Yeah, and I'm not dropping his name specifically.
Yeah,
So he's very introverted too. So I
sure.
just want to we always respect that for him. If you were to Google his name too, I think he would pop up maybe 3 times even.
Yeah. Well, that's cool when somebody finds something that they can do where they don't have to like be in the public eye all the time.
Pretty amazing anymore.
Trying to figure that out. It's not work hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
But that's yeah, there's so many cool people doing things that you would otherwise never know because they just enjoy doing it and they can do
And I
their own
always
thing.
say to like the rockhounds who are like the coolest, who are doing the real mining, they're not posting on social media. Those are the people who want to get like social media famous.
Yeah. Do you like the Tyler Childers song Rocks and Relics?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like all his songs.
Yeah, I mean that like as soon as
Mhm.
you said Rockhound, that's what
Yep.
came to mind.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. Anything else anyone should know about you if they want to find you, or should they not find
Yeah.
you?
Well, I'm on Instagram under Saldigs Montana, and I mostly do lapidary in my time not mining, so I'm just cutting stones for jewelers.
Okay, cool. Well, cool hearing about what you do, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll share some of the pictures you sent if that's cool
Yep.
in the video. But yeah, it's cool what you're doing. It's so interesting to find out what
Yeah.
goes on.
It's fun.
Maybe you'll be blasting in Montana at some point.
Yeah, that's my dream. I have blasted once at Little Gem Mine, but it would be cool to do it on my own merits.
Yeah, I believe in you.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Sally. Appreciate you. Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.